Hi guys, and welcome back. And this week, just a couple of questions. Main thing I'm going to talk about is running in the heat. There's a thing called dew point, DEW point. So just a few people in the Pilates, we had a decent few PBs, but a few people were like onto me, like saying didn't run as good as I thought I would. Like what's going wrong. And I think you gotta really understand that sometimes like your your performance isn't just dictated on like how you're training. It can come down to other factors, especially when like in Ireland it's hot at the moment and it's very humid. Okay, so that can make a big difference, and it's kind of like especially after a race, accepting that that's the case, that like there's certain temperature that you're going to have a really good chance on, and um other temperatures are not going to really indicate. So what dew point is it's, I just have a calculator here, it's the temperature plus the humidity that gives you a calculation for the dew point. So say 20 um 20 degrees Celsius, but a 65% dew point gives you about a 13.2. Whereas if we pop that up to say 85%, that's 17.4. Okay, so like, why is this? And then if you can see with the dew point here, it can be like, like depending on with your dew point, it'd be like how you feel. Like that kind of 13 to 15 is going to be comfortable. If you're up around the 17 mark, you're going to be very uncomfortable. And then like above, like say you're 24 degrees with that dew point, it's going to be a rough day for you. Okay, so why is that then? Well, you got to think about it. Like basically, when you're running and you're trying to run a PB, you're there is only a certain amount of energy in your body. Okay, so when your heart is pumping, it's pumping blood to the muscles, and then as you run, you're getting, because there's a lot more chemical reactions going on, you're getting hotter and hotter, and then with that heat, generally, if it's cooler, it can dissipate a lot easier. If it's warm, really warm, or if the humidity is high, when you have sweat, so obviously with sweat on the body, we have that evaporation. So if the heat hits it, that cools the skin, and as the water evaporates, if there's a lot of water in the atmosphere with humidity, there's a lot of water in the atmosphere already. It's much harder to like dissipate that into the atmosphere because it's already, say, full with water. So what happens then is it takes a lot more energy to cool you down. And then so what happens then is, if the humidity is low, because the atmosphere has no water in it, it's easier to dissipate that water into the atmosphere. If the temperature is lower, when you hit here, again, the heat on your body, it's easier for it to be removed. Or when blood comes to the skin, the coolness like cools us down, or cools us down. So even though there's these reactions occurring in the body, we're cool anyway. And you can see it. We could be cold at the start of a run if it's cold outside, and by the end of the run, you're nice and warm. When it's very warm, when the humidity is here, it's very hard to cool yourself down. So what the body has to do then is you have some kind of central regulation where it's like, well, we can't continue to run this hard or we're going to overheat. And the second thing it has to do is more blood has to come to the skin, because it has to get more of the heat to the skin, and then that takes away more blood from the muscles at that stage. Okay, so um, just a small point, but I think an important point. If you're ever unsure of like, well, why you might I've ran poorly, look up the dew point. Even if you're like, it was only 20 degrees or it was only like 22 degrees, but if you got humidity of like 80%, 70%, 90% humidity, you're not going to run well. It's going to be too hot. It's too hard for you it's too hard for the sweat to remove off your body. So it's it's not sweating that cools you down, it's the removal of sweat from your body evaporating in, and that causing a reaction on the skin that cools you down. So you just sweating, that's why at altitude or low humidity environments like deserts, it's like you're sweating, but if you felt your skin, you feel completely dry because as soon as the water goes there, it's getting evaporated off. Um, yeah, so that was something I saw this week, and I thought I just wanted to kind of bring it back up. Um, I just wanted to bring it back up because, yeah, sometimes people can be a little bit like, oh, I don't know why I ran poorly or training's going well, but I thought I'd run a lot better, and then they don't. Okay, so here are a couple more questions then. So two questions. Hopefully you won't find first one too silly. What exactly should / you shouldn't do on a rest day? It's funny, I knew a girl who never liked to take rest days. So she used to like literally do crazy long walks on a rest day. Like um I don't think there's any prescription on your rest day. There's kind of two schools of thought on the rest day. There's some people who are like, in terms of training, don't do anything, have it as like a complete day off. And then there's other people who will do like their gym or Pilates on the rest day. It's just what really works for you. Sometimes it's like, look, I don't have the time to do Pilates and gym on the day that I do a run, so I'll just take that. To be fair, I do that a lot more now. Like my Pilates, I'll either do on a day, or if I was doing a gym, I'll usually do it on a rest day from my running. So essentially, I'm not having a complete day off. When I was more elite, I might take a full rest day, but then I'd have more time to do the gym on the same days they're running. The idea behind a full complete rest day is generally to work with the nervous system. So very elite runners, like I was over with the Australian kind of team, the Melbourne Trap Club, and they have a thing called Triple Tuesdays, Triple Thursdays, and then they do a triple on a Saturday. So that would be a workout or session in the morning, a gym at like about 2 o'clock, and then an easy run at kind of 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Then you have your dinner, then you're panned out for the night. The idea behind that would be then you'd have just one easier run on a Wednesday, say, or one long run on a Sunday. And their idea is from Charlie Francis. He used to coach Ben Johnson, sprint coach, obviously big on drugs, but he actually had some good ideas as well. And one of the main ones of his was this thing of like, well, if you're taxing your nervous system with a session, with a workout, let's just tax the nervous system's getting taxed that day anyway. So they would do a sprint session and they would do their gym. And then they'd have a complete 24 hours off then, say where they're just doing something like doing easier running that's not taxing the nervous system. So that the nervous system's had a complete chance to relax, then they go back in. To be fair, I think if you're more at our level that you're training like a lot, when you have like more work commitments, I generally do my Pilates or gym on my rest day. That's what I do, but you can do it either way, whatever kind of works for you. Um, Look, and none of us are real like professionals or anything. Again, it's something I do as well. Like obviously you want to try take it a bit easier. You could go to the pool or whatever, but generally, like, I wouldn't not go on a hike. Obviously you want to try recover, but I wouldn't not go on a hike or something like that just because, or go walking somewhere just because it's a rest day. Like if it's something that you're going to do. Okay. Uh, because of the recurrent injury and age, I limit my running to 3, maybe 4 times per week, as well as some gym work. Yeah, great. I try to supplement training with low impact training like swimming and cycling. My question is, what is a 30-minute swim equivalent to run wise? And would a 10K cycle be equivalent to a 10K run for training purposes? No. Most training programs will have you running 5 days per week. So would really appreciate advice on running 3 days per week with something with low impact activities. Yeah, no issue. Was chatting to someone just this week about that. So if you're doing 3 days a week, that's absolutely fine, especially if you are doing low impact. Generally, like if it's cross training, I'll probably try to do at least one of those cross training days as essentially a little bit of a workout. So you might go 10 minutes, like so say a 10K cycle and a 10K run are not the same. They generally say you want to do about 1.5 times the volume on the bike to get the equivalent of what an easy run would be. So, for example, like long cycles are are long. So if they do 2.5 hours, 3 hours, so a lad who's doing like an hour and a half of a run would have to do at least kind of 2 hours of a cycle. But that being said, if you are just cross training, what you can do instead is make it into a bit of a workout. Again, like cross training is quite boring anyway. So, and because there's low impact, you can get like the stimulus in the same. So, with that in mind, if I was just cycling, you might, and you wanted to get the exact equivalent on a run, you would, instead of doing 10K of a cycle, you'd have to do about 15K of a cycle. And I wouldn't even do it on the K type. I would look on the minutes, because like, yeah, 15K of a cycle is not that long at all. So yeah, if you were going to be doing, say 10, let's say for argument's sake, 10K of a run normally takes you, say just when it's easy, say it takes 60 minutes. If you were trying to get the equivalent on a cycle, you would have to do a 90-minute cycle to get the equivalent. But what you could do instead is, say cross training for 90 minutes is just not feasible. So what you might do is a 40-minute cross training session, which is 10 minutes easy, and then like say 45 seconds on, so going faster, and then 75 seconds easier. So still spinning okay, doing that for 20 minutes in the middle, and then 10 minutes easy cycle at the end. So I'd kind of make it into a bit of a workout and see how, yeah, that's what I'd probably do. So say if it was like, you might have Monday could be a cycle. Depends on what you're doing. Monday would be maybe a cycle with that little workout. Tuesday then could be a rest day. Wednesday could be your workout, your running workout. Thursday could be your easy cycle. Friday could be a rest day. Saturday could be your second workout, and then you could do your Sunday being a kind of long run, and just depending on what you're kind of getting ready for, that could be between like 60 and 90 minutes. Okay. I experienced cramps in my hamstrings on the marathon at the weekend. Any tips for that? Look, again, as I said, the weather for running over the weekend was horrendous. It's as hot as it's been, and then humidity is over like 90%. So what I would recommend afterwards is, if you're getting cramps like that, Dioralyte or electrolytes. Dioralytes, I take one a day for 2 days, take a day off, and then one a day for 2 days. And then after that, I take one a week. Remember, that can affect your stomach. It can make you like want to be going to the toilet more. So don't think you're sick or anything if that's occurring. Okay. Questions. Any tips for warm weather training? I'm at an early build for Dublin, for build phase for Dublin Marathon, trying to keep ticking over for the next week in Spain. Getting out around sunrise, but heat and humidity is unreal. Pace is a real struggle. Short intervals are nearly more doable. Long run, a total struggle. In two minds, one, I tip away, but would also like to take advantage from warm weather training. Any advice, please? Yeah, I think you're doing the right thing there, Mike. I wouldn't be, altitude is slightly different, but altitude and kind of warm weather training works because you are running slower but still getting the same benefit. Do you know what I mean? So like your muscles and your body isn't having to work as hard. So like, so say you're used to running 8-minute miles, because it's so hard, like on that dew point that we talked about, you can run 9-minute miles, but get the equivalent benefit of an 8-minute mile at home. So you come home, your body has only been running 9-minute miles, so it recovers easier, but you have the fitness level of an 8-minute mile, if that makes sense. So that is the benefit of it. So I would just, yeah, I wouldn't, like, there's a good chance of frying yourself here. So go easier, just do it on feel. Do everything on feel. I would make my workouts, if I was doing workouts, do them shorter. So when people would go for warm weather training, they go to do shorter intervals. There's not a marathon runner in the world who's going doing warm weather training. They'll all go to altitude for the aerobic benefits, because at altitude there's less particles of oxygen in the air. So when you breathe in oxygen, you're not breathing in as many particles of air per breath. So then your body's like, oh crap, we're not used to this less oxygen. So it produces more blood cells. So you become more efficient using less oxygen. Then you come back to sea level, you got more oxygen in, but you have these red blood cells. So with you, Mike, what I would recommend is stay going out in the morning, do it totally by feel. If you normally do 8-minute miles, do 9-minute miles, or do whatever feels normal, and you'll still get the big benefits. I would not be trying to go as fast as I go at home or go harder because it's warmer. You'll already get the benefits because it's your body's working much harder at that slower pace. And then again, I would be doing more shorter intervals because it's warmer. The muscles are more more loose and warm, so you can do kind of like your shorter hills, you can do your kind of shorter intervals and get that kind of speed in the legs. But you don't want to be doing kind of long clunky stuff where you're out there for a long time, getting okay, guess it. Like, you won't be out there for a long time. I was reading the next question. Sorry. Getting like super hot on your head and stuff. You'll give yourself like heat stroke. I did. I give myself. I had a grand session on Friday, and I came home and I had the worst migraine of my life after it. So, and it was just didn't seem particularly hot, but it was just that I said that dew point is so humid. It was actually hot, and it was kind of crazy. So, yeah, don't intentionally go there. Go easier, and you'll still get the benefits of the training. Okay, and also if it's a holiday rather than a camp, it's like you can stress yourself. Like just try get the training in, and if you have to cut the training a bit, like it's not even it'll be next week before the start of like the 16-week block for the marathon. So yeah, I take it easier. No point coming into that feeling a bit fried. I've done that myself. I went on holidays and I was doing like sprint work. So I was doing like 800 meters and 1500 meters, and I lost a crap load of weight and I came home and run like a donkey because I was trying to go out for these hard runs before breakfast because it was a holiday, so we were kind of going off doing stuff, and I was in Vietnam as well, so it was like so humid and hot, and I'm absolutely painting myself before it got up, and then God love the old Vietnamese. It was actually a beautiful country, but the breakfast and the amount to eat is so little, and it was like trying to get enough food. You get a dinner and it's like half the size of your normal dinner at home. So yeah, I came home after like 2.5 weeks and I was trying to run then again, and I was running like a mule. I had to stop for a few weeks and replenish, cut that season loose. So after that, I'm like, anytime I go on holidays now, it's like, look, just run easy. If you're a week, 2 weeks, you'll get back into it. At least if you're fresh and you can jump back on, it's much better. Okay, someone in two minds about what target race to do. So I'll give you a prick. Uh, Perfect. Yeah, Mike, does that make sense? Yeah, if you're out there. Unmute yourself there for a second. Just yeah.
Yeah, no, that sounds good because I'm listening to that now, and yeah, it's just impossible to kind of put down the paces. Like it's
No,
just not it's not
100%.
feasible at all.
Yeah.
But I kind of feel, yeah, I did a shorter session today with a few shorter kind of 400s with a 30-second break, kind of sets of them. But I think I wasn't losing my form. I was kind of going long enough, and then I had a little bit of a break. I was able to re go again and kind of reset. So it was good, and I think yeah, it's a bit of a holiday as well. So I'm kind of in two minds. I don't want to go too
Yeah.
crazy either. Like
No, don't go too crazy because as I said, especially if it's a holiday, Mike, like you don't want to have it that you're like, because it's a holiday, you don't like say if you're going away doing something for the day or you're around, you don't want to be absolutely zonked and having to go around there. It's different if it is a camp because you can do a run, go back for a sleep. It's all targeted around maxing your performance. But if it's only like a hot weather holiday, just get your run done in the morning. Don't put yourself under pressure, because then you're probably back in like a week's time anyway.
Yeah, back anyway. Yeah, it would be to get the ball rolling when I get
Yeah,
back
you're
there.
better off. You,
So
you just don't want to be digging yourself into a hole, and that's easily done when it's that hot.
yeah,
You don't want to come back going, oh yeah, I pushed that run, but like I'm actually feeling wrecked now coming home. You want to be kind of like, okay, well, we're into the 16 weeks now. So yeah, I would do the shorter stuff. It'd be great because the muscles are loose like that. If you did one today, that's what day is it? Tuesday. So I wouldn't do another one until maybe Saturday. And
perfect.
then again, I might just do, honestly, I would probably do something like 20 minutes easy running, and then stretch, and then do minute on, minute off for like 10 minutes. So like say 20 minutes of that. So 10,
Okay,
10 by a minute with a 1 minute easy jogging, and then 20 minutes home, and leave it at that.
that sounds good. No, that
Yeah.
sounds manageable.
Yeah. And I'd be keeping the long run short as well, like 60 minutes. And then
Yeah,
normal runs, maybe 45 minutes, 50 minutes, something like that. Maybe 60, 70 minutes of a long run in the morning, but don't fry yourself. Then at least you're coming home, you're like, right, I'm fresh, I can get back into it.
yeah. No, that's good. No, thanks for that, Owen. No, that makes good sense.
Brilliant, brilliant. Yeah, great question as well, Mike. Thank you.
Cheers.
Uh,
Thanks.
okay, I had a question then. If there's anyone else on the call, just let me know. Good to see you, Parkeen. Okay, my 5K time last year was 17:30. In the build up doing Dublin Marathon, my first marathon, I got injured. It was a kind of glute hip injury that sidelined me for about 5 months. Okay. I'm back now approximately 6 to 8 weeks, and I've built up to 65K per week. It's good. And aim to keep building on this to get my base fitness built up. I estimate my current 5K to be 18:45 based on a few speed sessions I've done. I have an entry for Valencia Marathon and Manchester. Valencia is a good marathon, but December is close. In April 26. I was thinking perhaps I should forget about Valencia and concentrate on the shorter distance now, with the main aim being at Manchester in April 2026. Would you agree with the above, or any thoughts on yourself? Thanks. I appreciate your time. Sorry for a long-winded message. No, I actually love these long ones. Um, I would maybe target like a half marathon if you were going to go. Like, like I'm biased towards shorter distances. I find that the training is kind of healthier. Um, Easier to manage in your life, like where if you're not, 17:30 is sometimes. So I don't mind if you're like, look, I just want to get a marathon in. Um, but like if you got injured for 5 months after trying to get ready for a marathon, just might suit you, that way. Like, so it's a kind of mad thing to go, well, I got injured for that. Now I've like straight away, because that was your first marathon. And you're like, well, I've booked 2 marathons then. I'd be like, right, maybe you want to just tick that box, which is fair enough. And then maybe get back to 5Ks, 10Ks, kind of thing. That's always my opinion. That being said, with this, say if you did really want to do a marathon, I think the fact that you're only back after 5 months, um, I'm a little bit worried about like the build as well, like the 65K already per week. I think I would be scrapping, yeah, I would be scrapping doing the Valencia. Even I don't know if you can switch to doing the Valencia 10K if you have like your things, or do they have a half marathon there? I think that would be a lovely halfway house. You could do a half marathon, build for that, add in a few like 10Ks on the way to like prep for it, or a 10 miler, because it is going to be say December, or look at that. So look at half marathon December, 10 mile in like say November, maybe a couple of 10Ks on in the build up for it. You're still going to be getting decent mileage done there, still 13 miles, and then you can start a decent build phase for uh April for Manchester. June, July, yeah, should be all right. Like, yeah, the only thing about like spring marathons is there's a few bleak days in February. I'm not gonna lie to you. Doing long runs and it's like miserable, like, But January you won't be up to too much. Yeah, it's just February can get a bit bleak, and then it starts getting a bit brighter in March. But to be saying that, like a December marathon, you're probably going to be in the same boat with November, so it's not that big a deal. Yeah, that's what I would do. if you have the marathons on your mind, I would look at doing a half marathon this side of the year with like maybe a 10K and a 10 mile, and allows kind of consistent training where you're not overly reaching, and then it's giving you a decent base that you can get into marathon training for Manchester, and then like seriously consider whether you want to keep doing marathons. Could be better just to do the do shorter ones. It might suit your body better. Okay, I'm just going to check. Anybody have any other questions here, guys? I had one other one. All training going okay. Hope that dew point thing made sense. As I said, I had a good few messages. I had a good few messages about people going, "Oh, I can't believe I ran so poorly." Like we had one or two who actually ran really well, and that would even tell me they're going to do even better. But the main message I was getting, like, "Can you believe that I ran so poorly?" And it's like, lads, the weather is crap. It's like you just got to accept sometimes things are out of your own control, and that high dew point is one of those things. Great. So I'm going to leave it there. Thanks a million, guys. There'll be no Q&A next week. I'm away on holidays myself. So I'll be enjoying the hot weather, and I'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Take care. Bye, guys.